Welcome back to Midas Letter Live. You've never seen this setup before. This is our new Midas Letter RAW. My guest here is Ed Milewski. He's a consultant, he's an advisor, he's a philosopher, he's a man of the world and of the hour. Edward, thank you for joining us today.
A veritable legend in my own mind.
A cornucopia of wealth, knowledge, and non sequiturs.
Thank you for the kind words, James.
Edward, we haven't seen you in a long time, and I'm curious as to what has been keeping you out of the limelight.
You know what? I've been sort of thinking about the same, wondering the same thing. I would like to be back here, and I'm back here, and I feel good. You know, I don't have an answer for you. I wish I did.
Okay.
But it's good to be back.
In other words, you've got no excuse.
I've got no excuse. I don't have an excuse.
Well, you're back, and we're glad to have you back.
I am, and I'm glad to be back.
Back in black. Back in the pink. So, Ed, we've been experiencing quite a bit of interest in the cannabis space recently, and I'm wondering if you've been exercising any sort of quality assurance duties in that regard.
Well, you know, they keep bringing out companies, right? And it seems to me because it's a.
I was referring to the product itself, not necessarily the public company. So that's another discussion.
Okay.
Are you a user of cannabis, Ed?
Yes, I've been quite a regular user over the years, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
And would you categorize cannabis as something that is a beneficial and benign part of your personal existence?
I would say that, you know, personally, I would say that, you know, I obviously like the experience, but I'd say if it did one thing that I probably didn't like, it was that it probably took a bit of an edge off you. It made you a little secure in your own little world, and maybe killed some of your drive. It made you a bit
of a bitch.
You know, where you just said, yeah. You know, I'm happy to just sit here.
A pacifist.
A pacifist. You don't see people aggressive on cannabis,
right?
As opposed to alcohol, where you can see some extremely aggressive behavior.
As they say, if you want to turn a otherwise personable and not aggressive person into an outer raging asshole, just add alcohol.
Yeah. Women don't, you know, complain of their husbands
get high,
clobbering them.
Oh. Okay, let's not deviate off that territory.
No, but
this is a G-rated conversation.
You know, we all know stories about alcohol.
Yeah. So the Canada's, we're here on the eve essentially of Canada's legalization of cannabis for recreational purposes. This will be the first G7 nation in the world to come up with a federal cohesive framework for regulating both medical and recreational cannabis.
Right.
And there's a lot of criticism in the political sort of Twitterverse suggesting that we're not ready and oh my gosh, this is bad, a lot of hand wringing and whatnot. But as a user, I mean, do you really think that the fact that we can now buy it at the store instead of from our neighbor across the street is going to have any profound impact on society or any issues associated with safety, health?
I think the one area where I see benefit is that people that are, and we're an aging society here in Canada, there's a lot of people that have ailments and problems. And I know of people that were never users that use it now, and they sleep better. They sleep better, they have less pain, they seem like they're chilling out pretty good, right? Like, so, you know what, maybe it's going to be a good thing for an aging population, and that's what Canada, the boomers are.
In the context of the opiate and amphetamine sort of crises that are underway as a result of the big pharma apparent inability to actually modulate the access to a legal yet addictive substance, I think certainly the advent of cannabis as an alternative to opiates and amphetamines is a desirable outcome.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. You know, they say the biggest drug pusher is the United States government. Like, I don't want to make it
Too controversial.
But in 60 Minutes...
There goes our Google search results.
there you go. No, you know what? It's a funny world, right? Look at the OxyContin thing.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling what...
And now, is that pronounced OxyContin, OxyContin, or oxycodone? I've heard all three.
I think there may be... maybe all three are right.
Maybe there are different strengths.
You know.
If you want the really strong stuff, it's oxycodone.
But
these are opiates.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, like, there was a big show on 60 Minutes, and they were talking about, you know, the DEA was told to back off. You know, let this stuff get out there.
Yeah.
You know.
We're involved with a documentary film project, which I might have told you about, that in which we're going to explore the relationship between Big Pharma and their lobbyists on both the evolution of drug laws in the United States as well as the evolution of access to dangerous and addictive opiates and amphetamines under the guise of, you know, over-the-counter prescription drugs, or non-prescription drugs rather. So now there's been one other side effect of the cannabis revolution, as I like to think of it, that I'd like to broach with you today, Ed. Okay. And that is the idea that there's a lot of people in Canada who, one could say that their prime motivation for supporting the legalization of cannabis would be their own financial interest. Now, what do you think about that?
You know, certainly there's been a group of people that have gotten very wealthy recently.
Have you?
No, I have not. I'm not saying I've gotten wealthy, but I've made some money by knowing some people.
Buying cannabis deals. Little insider trading.
A little bit, maybe being in early, being into getting shares in a new venture, and then it starts trading at a big multiple to that initial price. Valuation gets crazy. You know, that money, easy money, tends to disappear quickly. So eventually, I think that'll just, you know, sort of dissipate into the system, and you know. People that tend to make money easy tend to keep doing things to try and keep making more money in an easy fashion, and it never seems to keep working.
Yeah,
it usually comes to an end, right? Like,
sure. You've so this is our our cannabis.
Interesting. It looks like it wants to go higher again.
Yeah, this is the Midas Letter Cannabis Index.
Wow.
It's got all the Canadian.
Oh, you have your
companies.
own index.
This is the Midas Letter Cannabis Composite Index.
Wow.
It contains.
What would be the initials of the Midas Letter?
MLCCC.
What?
A bit of a mouthful, but at the same time quite memorable. Look, if I mouse over the thing, there's the actual symbol if you wanted to punch it in a quote media. It's actually caret sign MLCCC at MLCC.
Wow.
So this is not easy to find.
That chart actually looks like it's about to launch into another up move.
Well, let's pull it down into a 1 month window here.
Yeah. Excuse me, but I don't like to point here, but it looks like that last candle is about, well, if it can break out and stay above this high over here, then I think, you know, the trend is resuming. On the other hand, if it fails and sort of rolls over, you may have the makings of a bit of a double top there.
Right, in which case, what does that signify? This is technical analysis.
This is technical analysis 101, folks. Just saying. Now, so I would say, you know, you're at a juncture here.
Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting as we get closer and closer to reality being July, August, September, depending on who you talk to.
Well, Thursday is the final vote. So Thursday, I mean, if I was a betting man, I would say this is the market anticipating a positive outcome on Thursday. After which we should see one hell of a sell-off because guys will be taking all that money off the table.
I'll tell you, just looking at that last candle, okay, you have a very long tail and a very long wick. Okay, so that's an indecisive candle. Okay, so you've got a battle going on within that candle.
Yeah.
And if that thing doesn't resolve itself so that it closes in the higher level, then I would say a sell-off is imminent.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, on the other hand, I could be.
Well, we got 2 days till the vote. And the outcome is expected to be favorable.
Yeah.
Obviously, the vote goes favorable Thursday, June 7th. Does not imply that we're going to have cannabis on the shelves on Friday, June the 8th.
Right.
So I wonder, you know, how much hesitation there is on the part of large institutional investors who are going to say, well, great, the vote's already been priced in. Like if you look at the chart going out, call it a year, which is, when was it that they first announced that it was going to be legalized? It was down here in November, right?
Yeah.
And that's when you see this, the momentum begin, and especially here, this is where it really started to, and this is actually where Constellation Brands bought 10% of Canopy Growth in January, which, as you recall, happened, and they touched a high of, I think it was $44. In many respects, the Cannabis Composite Index, which is actually mirrors Canopy Growth. Canopy Growth is obviously now nearly $10 billion worth of the market cap, and the index is weighted towards the companies with the larger market cap. And there are only, at this point, 10 companies, because this index reflects the performance only of the 10 companies listed in Canada in the cannabis space with a market cap above $500 million.
Right, and there's only 10 of them.
Well, there's probably a couple more as of today. The
latest one would be that
Organogram.
And the green organic Dutch thing.
And TGOD, of course.
TGOD,
yeah. So this index adjusts on the last day of every quarter. So on June 29th, anything else that is above $500 million market cap will become part of the cannabis index. But I want to show you.
Just quickly, if you look at some of the peaks, you'll see there's these long wicks in these candles, right? For instance, the original one where you had in early January, and then you had a couple more there a few weeks later. And every time there's a run, you get a big. So we see a wick starting to show itself on that last candle.
Yeah.
So that may be signaling that we're getting a little pricey here.
Yeah.
And that chickens are.
Well, we're starting to approach the previous highs.
Yeah.
And certainly there's a fundamental event in the form of the Senate vote.
And this is the volume down here. So if you see much more volume down here associated with those higher highs, but yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But we know they are overvalued, though, aren't they? They are overvalued.
Bite your tongue, Ed Milewski.
Well,
I'm long. I don't know about you. That looks like a reasonable valuation.
Let's just say that the valuations are high.
Yeah.
And that at some point when they start producing cash flow, people will
cash flow easy there.
Okay.
When these things are valued on the balance sheet, that's a whole other story.
Right.
Obviously, right now, the cannabis companies are trading on speculative anticipation of future value. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, now I want to show you something interesting here.
Okay.
So all of these indexes were started at 100 as of January 2015. And
wow.
Obviously, except the cannabis composite was started at 1,000 to give it a better reflection of, the market cap. But of these three indexes, so the small cap index here is all companies listed in Canada in the cannabis space with a market cap between 100 and 500 million. So it has increased by a value of 8 times in 800% since January 2015. The Cannabis Venture Index, now this is all companies listed on the Venture Exchange, regardless of market cap, and it has performed as to approximately 9 times its starting value from 2015. But the really remarkable and surprise to me, I think, is the fact that the Canadian Cannabis CSE Index, which is all cannabis companies traded on the Canadian Securities Exchange, a little itty-bitty Canadian securities, have 15 times increased value. So, I mean, after the large incumbent companies, the best performers are consistently coming out of the CSE, and it's interesting because a lot of the companies on the venture and in the cannabis composite are from lowly and humble beginnings on the CSE composite. So this is one of the, I think, great misconceptions about the marketplace in Canada is people just assume that the CSE is the poor cousin to the other exchanges and indexes.
Right.
When in fact, it's actually...
It's sort of been the incubator, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, one of our good friends, Steve Meisner, calls it the marijuana exchange, and it has been, in terms of number of issuers, at times it's been the highest number of issuers, and I think it might be now. But so where do you think, I mean, and this is something that our audience would really be interested to hear, is from a technical perspective, and after the fundamental driver that is the vote in 2 days' time on Thursday, what do you think is going to happen to these companies? Is this the onset of a doubling of the value of the entire index again, as the other events that are going to unfold in the future timeline take cannabis higher? Or is this perhaps the top, and with all of this new supply coming online, there's actually going to catalyze a race to the bottom in the cannabis price, which is in turn going to undermine the value proposition of these publicly listed companies?
I think it's going to be the latter. I feel that because, you know, so many times we saw in the mining industry, when this things start to produce, get out.
Yeah.
You know, like the build-up is before the
Buy
reality.
the mystery and sell the history. Right. Well, okay. Well, this will be interesting to see.
Well, we're going to find out. But as you know, every time more capacity is brought in, it dilutes the whole industry.
Sure.
And as you pointed out, the price of cannabis is going to looks like it's going to go lower. Yeah. Before it can go higher.
There's a couple of companies that we've been covering lately, and Organogram being one of them. If you've seen Organogram's chart, it's really quite impressive, and it actually is on its own outperforming the.
Wow! You know, that's one I don't follow. And look at this. This is almost. This is at its all-time high.
Yeah. So they've had some incredible news lately. They've just launched two brands. The trailer. Well, they haven't launched it yet because marijuana is not legal yet. But their recreational brand is called Trailer Park Buds.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's.
And then they've got and then they've got a higher end medical brand called Edison, or recreational brand called Edison, implying that, you know, this is a sophisticated high end for connoisseurs and very discriminating tastes.
Right.
And we visited the plant and
the actual marijuana plant.
Well, we did actually.
The plant that was in the plant, or the plant itself?
Now, Ed, don't confuse me here. I'm going to play a little clip for our live studio audience, and that being you and me here. And if we cut to YouTube, and quickly, I'm going to play this little clip for you, because I actually shot this video from inside the... Oh, look, there we are live now. Wait, don't pull that up. That'll confuse the hell out of us. Videos. Hold on here. So there's a video here. So this is actually live from inside Organogram's. Let's start at the beginning here, just for laughs, and crank this up. I don't know if the audience is going to be able to hear it.
Midas Letter Live, which today is coming to you from inside beautiful room 24 at Organogram's Moncton, New Brunswick cannabis growing operation. What you're looking at here is a crop of Mongolian, strain called Mongolian, which is going to be ready for harvest in 13 days. Here's Fraser filming me, filming him, filming me, filming him, filming me, filming him.
Who's now filming us, filming him.
Let me try a little live experiment here using my cell phone. Seems to be working pretty good because Organogram has Wi-Fi in every room, which they rely on to communicate with each other. This place is an absolute maze. This is just one of how many rooms, Tom? One of 39 grow rooms, each one 2,400 some odd, 2,200 square feet on 3 levels. So
wow.
A room that is 2,300 square feet is actually closer to 9,000 square feet because of the 3 levels.
How long ago was that?
That was just a week ago, or 2 weeks. No, 10 days ago or so.
Right.
Yeah.
And the stock's been just been moving along here.
Well, if we let's see here. Oh, where did that go? Okay. Well, here's the Organogram chart. We'll go to full screen again. So this is when the visit occurred. Right here at from this trough.
Seems to me that people should come to you when they want a little stock lift.
Well, they do. No, actually, the site visit occurred here just in this period right here. But
Right.
you know, obviously, Organogram's making some big moves. They just announced today.
Your mic is totally screwing up. Just give it a fix. Ed, why don't you?
Are we live?
Yeah, but just you gotta fix your mic because it's.
What do I have to do?
Just
Okay.
turn it on and off. It's not gonna.
All right then. That was Fraser, our producer. In case
Hey,
you're
Fraser.
wondering.
It's still screwed up, so you gotta turn it off and on.
Turn it off and on?
Okay, let's fade to black. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. We're going to continue this conversation in just 2 minutes. Don't go